on that. Jesse's sitting in, running the controls, all on the board, and we'll see how everything goes. Not that there's any news to cover that we have today on the old blower as we go. And we're sitting there, we're testing the new lapel mic to see how that goes. So we'll run some sound checks as we do that. Waiting for us to roll up on Facebook and Twitch. It's kind of different now not having that. I'm used to when I'm talking to looking at that. Wonder what that was. It's always neat when things are crashing in the studio while you're on the... That funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5 on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube on IE Newswire going across the board. We're testing a new microphone. Stephanie's out today. Jesse's running the boards today. We'll be joining the Mighty Met 1490 KMET here at the bottom of the hour on that. Melissa and Murray will be in later on. Not that there's nothing to talk about in the old news cycle today. Obviously, the big news, and everybody's going about it, is the El Presidente elections going on. Of that, and the whole stuff of, is this state in play? Are they calling it? Let's do a little information on there. I don't think, no election results have been certified yet. So really, nobody has won the presidency until 50 states certify the elections and declare their intent of where their electoral votes go. Now, there's 538 electoral college votes. You have to have 270 to win. You have to have a majority. Anything less, it goes to the House of Representatives per the Constitution. So really, it's the race to 270. Pray tell if we get it, since there's only basically two candidates that are eligible to get that. If you had a 290, the only way we could get a runoff is to have a 269 tie, which is entirely possible in this scenario with that, and that would. Not that I would want to see that for the reaction of the country, but that would make absolutely great radio coming on the scene, because you would have, you talk about mass chaos, throwing it into the House of Representatives in the Democratic-controlled House would be something of, something that would be just, what do they call it, an ish show? That's kind of the vernacular that's going around. That would be one heck of a show going across the board on that, I would imagine. But it's still there's still a lot of doubt. Trump was on the Trump and Biden both made statements today. Biden, like 2 minutes and out. Trump obviously was about 20 minutes, although he didn't take any questions on the stuff. But it was a heck of a deal going on of that. I mean, Biden, it looked like he could almost, for the 2 minutes he walked up there, it looked like he could almost just barely keep his eyes open doing that. Walked up the stage and was stumbling and bumbling. And Trump brought out many things, and I mean, wait for things to come. Who knows? We've been hearing some reports. We haven't been able to confirm or the sources of the reports of what's actually been going on out there, but we shall see. We shall see what the day brings. Trump brought that out in his press conference today. He said they're going they're going to leave no stone unturned. He believes he's going to flip Arizona, and that actually is going to be in the Trump column. Georgia's the one that's like razor tight in this whole deal. Man, it was down to 9,000 votes, I believe, on the last count. Arizona, I think if they haven't, they will be updating their vote count maybe as we get maybe at 6 o'clock our time on that. So yes, it's Trump is down to 3. Here we go. Let's do number 4. Down to only a 3,500 vote lead right now for Donald Trump in Oregon. Answer yes. See what Dwayne wants. You're down to 0.1% on at Georgia. Man, that's razor sharp. Trump cannot afford to lose any more vote in Georgia. If he loses Georgia, his path to victory is almost. He would have to flip both Arizona and Nevada to make it if he ultimately loses Georgia on the deal. You on, Dwayne?
No.
Oh, I thought he was on the.
Can you hear?
Yeah, can you hear me, Dwayne? No. I thought he was calling in on the deal there. So we're going to run the technical powers. Can you hear us now, Dwayne? He can hear us, but we can't hear you. Of that. So
Try now.
see if you can talk. There you go.
back.
We got you going now.
Oh, okay. Moments ago, I just saw something. Project Veritas is a widely accepted, kind of an undercover investigative reporting group. Just released a video on Amazon. It's free. Amazon tried to suppress it, but it went to #1. It shows a guy talking to a postman about rigging the ballots and handing him a group of ballots in his box at an apartment. I just saw a snippet of this. This is what may be being referred to by the president as some evidence of voter fraud.
Did you? And we just ran the numbers on Georgia. It's down to 3,500 votes for a Trump lead in Georgia right now. One tenth of 1%.
Right. I watched his speech earlier, and Fox had a counter up, and about midway through his speech, it went from 9,000 down to 3,000.
Right. Yeah. So that's the latest update on.
Sure. So and I'm obviously I called in the show and said he was gonna win big. I still believe that. I think what we're dealing with is a massive corruption, and I think we anticipated it. You talked about it numerous times. The president's been talking about it for months. I don't think we can't take this lightly. We can't take it lying down, but I don't think anybody should get excited quite yet.
Just got the Pennsylvania numbers up and run number 4. Give me number 4, the full shot on that. There's a Pennsylvania's down to 64,000 votes with a Trump lead with the 89% reporting. Let's go Georgia, as you see, 99% reporting, and it's a 3,500 vote Trump lead. Arizona, the lead looks like it's down to about 54,000, so Trump picked up about another 12,000 votes from the last count, so that race is obviously tightening again in the Arizona race, and he predicted in his news conference that he was going to win Arizona. He was not like he did say, and I thought he heard when he was on the Georgia one, he said I might be down on Georgia when it comes, and there's the count. He's still up, but just barely, and there's 99% of the vote reporting. The good news about Atlanta is I think is all the votes from, Georgia, is all the votes from Atlanta have already been counted on that. So we shall see on that. But I mean,
rural parishes now.
Yes, the only state as of right now that's going Trump's direction or where he's gaining votes is Arizona. Every other state, the ones that are close, let's say Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, he's losing votes on every count that's been coming out now.
So what are we looking at if things stay as indicated right now? What's the current electoral vote status?
It's still nobody's. As far as calling it, nobody's called any states yet. It's still at two. Like roll up number 4. If you look at the AP call, and AP and Fox News are the only ones that are calling Arizona. Everybody else has Arizona in play. But if they're calling Arizona right now for Biden, and it's 264 to 214.
So if that stands, then I don't believe it's going to. I believe when we get some, more information, such as this Project Veritas documentary, that should give reason for the court system to open these votes back up. I listened to a short clip with Pam Bondi where they were denied access to view the counting areas for ballots. And, I believe both parties should have a right to have individuals at the polling places to count votes. And I don't think that should be denied of anyone that wants to view the voting, be it Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever party. I don't care. Those voting polls are your place, and they belong to you. They don't belong to the government.
Yes. It's been absolutely crazy of what's been going on. Of that, we're gonna play. Let's see. I want to see that we're gonna run a little test on this here. Let me bring up the. See, this is what. Let me see if I can find the video. I want to see if you can read this one. Yes, here it is. Here's someone. Now, this is what was going on in Arizona. This is a lady that's talking about the ballots. You're only supposed to mark them in black ink. Where at the ballot place, they were giving people Sharpies, which bleeds through the other side on a double side, and the ballots were double-sided. So here's a short clip. I want to see if you can hear this, and then we're going to play it, and then if you don't, I'll explain what it was.
Polling tech earlier.
Okay.
That 4 different polling places were doing Sharpies, all in, between Cream Creek and, the edge of Gilbert.
Yep. And those ones are not being counted.
Yes.
They're invalid.
Yes.
Yes.
I approved.
So they're invalidating votes is what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how I feel the picture
of
my
Okay.
ballot. And then there was a guy that directly came out and yelled at me 3 times. They both came out.
Oh, no, they called the sheriffs and said that, and told us to stop handing out the ballpoint pens, in which case, those are the only ones that are actually being counted and validated.
I used your pen and then I
Yeah.
sent it back to you and I
And
said,
they're-
give this to somebody.
Yes. Yes, and so we know that, and we've been telling them you need to use a ballpoint pen, not the Sharpie, and now those are getting invalidated.
Yeah.
So people are coming here to vote for Donald Trump, and those votes are all getting invalidated. That's what's going on. There we go.
There you go. There was the, and I don't know, could you hear that, Dwayne?
No.
No, you didn't. Well, it was at all 4 of the actual booths where you vote. They were handing out Sharpies. Well, and this is in Trump territory, the rural care territory in Arizona, and she's explaining to that, yeah, they were handing out Sharpies, and then people after they had voted became aware of their ballot would be invalidated because they used the Sharpie. Because it's going to read on both sides because the Sharpie bleeds through the paper on the other side. So this is just one example of the voter fraud or things that have been going on, like you're talking about the Project Veritas deal, and they've run a lot of exclusives on these things of that. And there's many, many, many more stories that's going on across the board of this thing. So I don't think, it's going to be a major thing, I think, if somebody clicks this thing and we find out, this is the thing, and I've said this before. I mean, if I'm in a street fight, I'm going to the Democratic Party and recruiting the members that are sitting around at the Democratic Party because I don't want the Republicans on my team because I know they're going to, as soon as somebody goes boo, they're going to be running and hiding. At
the
least
cost
I
of
know
time.
if I got the Democrats on there, they will fight to the death in the end, and they don't care. It's just like this whole thing. I don't care if it's political positions or the Antifa riots or anything else. And one thing I've got to give them credit for is they will stand and fight to the death and beyond for what, and they don't care what the rules are or anything else. If they think that if it accomplishes the goal they want, they're going for it. So that's why I say in a street fight, I'm going down to the Democratic area, the Democratic Party, or where they all hang out, and I'm grabbing them guys up. I'm drive passing right by the Republicans, and that's what gives me the. I think Trump will do it. I just wonder if the GOP will stand behind him if he really tries to push this.
I think what you're going to see, the more of the independent Republicans standing with Trump. The establishment is going to do precisely what you indicated. They are going to go paws to the sky and run and hide because they have to virtue signal at every opportunity how superior they are by not fighting. That we have to wear a white hat and we have to, we have to do everything above board. Screw that. You're in a street fight right now and you better get a chain, a club, a rock, whatever it takes to win, because at the end of the day, there's only one winner. And everybody else is a loser. And you don't want to be on that losing side this time because there's a lot at stake with this. We can ill afford to be a bunch of candy-ass, feckless, worthless turds. We've got to get our backbone straightened out.
Yeah,
And
they all say, we have this saying in racing, nobody remembers who finished second. On back, they could care less. They just want to know who
that's
won.
right.
And that's the only, and in politics, you can have all the principles you want. If you don't win or get elected to office, you can stand out there waving your flags or doing that or standing on your principles, but you're still on the outside looking in.
Absolutely. And there is just on surface indications of significant voter fraud. Now, it could be by both sides. We don't know because we're not allowed to even observe counting of the ballots. This is absurd to me. What do you mean I can't come in to my polling facility and watch somebody count ballots? Now, in my state, they don't do it that way. You have to show an ID to get a ballot. They give you a number. That number corresponds to a ballot. They hand you a ballot with that number. You go select on a screen what you want. You feed the ballot in, hit the print button. You look at it again to make sure it reflects what you picked. You go into another place and it scans it right into a machine, and that ballot is locked up right then and there. So when they do the count, they verify it. When our state verifies the count and ratifies, what they do is go back and they take a sampling of those votes to make sure that the paper ballots match the electronic signatures. And I think what you're seeing, and we talked about this many years ago, I know. I'm trying to remember the lady's name from Florida that was all over the Florida deal when
Beth Harris, black box voting.
Yes. Massive voter fraud in where? Florida.
And Riverside County.
Yeah, Riverside County, California in general. But
yes.
I think if you, I saw the very lopsided numbers from California, and it was expected to a certain degree. But I wonder if you had an actual real count. In other words, a hand showing. I will bet you that there's a lot more support for Trump than was reflected in the vote in California.
It could be, and this is weird about Riverside County. I brought it out last night. In 2016, for president, Riverside County voted for Hillary Clinton. In 2018, for governor, they voted for the Republican John Cox over Gavin Newsom, and now it's back the other way. Riverside County just flipped again, and they're voting for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. That doesn't make our demographics and stuff from 18 to now in population have not changed that much. Why the flip? Okay, from the extreme side of the Democratic Party to, well, I'm going to say Cox was a big conservative, but from comparing Joe Biden and Hillary to John Cox, that's like almost 180 degrees opposite on the spectrum. And for the electorate to bobble back and forth like that, that just doesn't make any political sense given what's happened in our country the last 4 years. At least
No,
to me.
I concur. I think that this is yet another indication of massive fraud. And like I said, I'm not pointing the fingers at just one side. It's if one side can do it, like we say, if you want to use the racing analogy, if you ain't cheating, you ain't winning. So I'm not going to say that the other side is squeaky clean on this. But the Democrats did telegraph this way back in, I believe, April, was when we got the first indications. And then certainly by summer, they were tuned up to set the stage that no matter what happened, they were not going to capitulate on the Democratic side, no matter what the numbers were. Hillary's advice, Her Highness herself, told Biden, absolutely do not capitulate the election. And then, of course, we had Her Highness Nancy Pelosi tell us that she had talked with the Continuity of Government people, the COG, and said that she is going to be number 2. She is going to pick the president come the 20th. And all they have to do is what they're doing right now, muddy the water sufficiently to where nobody gets to 270. And they've almost got Biden at 270. He's sitting there leaning.
If you take the count as the way they've called it, if he gets Nevada, he's at 270, and it's all a moot point. If that's how the final vote count comes out on this going forward.
Well, did they have Clark County completely counted yet?
No, there's 51,000 more votes out, I think, on that. They're going to update. I think they're finishing the count today in Clark County, and they're going to do the final results on that. Well, not the final, because in Clark County, if the ballot, or according to what the registrar of voters or whatever the equivalent is to that, they can take, if a ballot's postmarked by November 3rd, they can accept it up till November 12th. So they won't have all the votes in till November 12th, or they won't be able to at least count or that. And then I don't know, I know in California they have 30 days to certify the election. And most are that, it could be a little bit different, but most jurisdictions, county registrar voters, whatever's running your deal, and that's usually who runs most of the elections of that. They usually have 30 days from the election date, so that's like December 3rd or 2nd or whatever, if there's 31 days, whatever it is in there, they have to certify the election. So that's really, up until that point, we won't know 100% of what's going on. And then, you know what? If some of the allegations that are coming out prove to be true, and we get into court fights and everything else, who knows?
That's going to suspend the count, sure.
Who knows? I mean, we went through a touch of this, it seems like, in 2000 in Bush v. Gore and the hanging chads and Broward County and all the whole rigmarole. As I've said before, I said this year's shaping up is going to make that look like tiddlywinks, and I think it is. I think if Trump, and in Trump's personality, he's given every indication that he will, he's going to street fight this. He will street fight it, and when you put the stuff up there on that, and some of the things that are going on is just like almost incredulous of that. Want to read a little story? Flip me up number 4 on the deal, and on that, former Philly congressman convicted in ab scam sting charged with election. This is WHYY out of the PBS station out of guess where? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Former Philadelphia congressman who's among the officials convicted in the FBI's ab scam sting, now charged with election fraud. Michael Ozzie Myers was a four-year career representing Pennsylvania's 1st congressional district in 1990 when he was sentenced to 3 years in prison accepting a bribe to the colleagues in the House and expelled him from the body, which a lot of you don't remember, but the Abscam case was really big back then. But then in 2014 and 2016, he was with a former judge, and they were fixing elections for guess which party's candidates?
Oh, Democrats.
Yes, of that. And
isn't it interesting that you bring that point up, because all of the states that are still in play are controlled. The voting is controlled by Democrats.
Yes.
So all of those states that are in play, and one of the things on that Project Veritas video that I was telling you about was there's an individual on there that claims to work for the post office and gave his supervisor's name and stated that his supervisor told him to set aside a bunch of ballots to be re-stamped for a previous day so that they could be accepted. Now, the post office has long been culpable in these matters, and it has been found several times. And we've got a new chief of the post office. What do they call him? The postmaster general, the chief postmaster general. We got a new guy that's supposed to be a tough guy there, and he's a Trump appointee. Now, he may decide to do his own investigation and fire these people immediately, hopefully. And anybody caught tampering with votes should not only
I want to
lose
get
their
to
job,
this one because this is another one that came out of PA. Trump army of poll watchers led by veteran of PA fraud claims. Trump's director of election day operations, Mike Roman, got his start in 1993 in a 1993 state Senate race where the court overturned election results. Veteran Republican operative got his start in politics by helping persuade a judge to throw out hundreds of mail-in ballots, organizing an army of volunteers for President Trump Thursday to monitor voting in Democratic-leaning areas Tuesday. Mike Rowan, director of Election Day operations, is a former White House aide from Pennsylvania who garnered claims in '93 of voter fraud, resulting in courts overturning election results and getting his candidate seated in the Pennsylvania State Senate. More evidence. Now we're going back to 1993. So when people say there is a long-term standing issue with election frauds and elections being overturned, it goes right to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where the voting is going upwards of close to 9-1 for Joe Biden.
Yes, and please do tell everybody, we're seeing numbers that have historically not only never been seen, but are statistically impossible. You cannot get 100,000 ballots dropped off by one truck and 100% of them are Biden votes. Now, to me, if I was working at a polling place, I'd throw a lock on that truck right then and there, and I'd call the cops and say, this smacks of weirdness. You need to talk to this driver and figure out where these ballots were picked up, because I'm smelling fraud here, and I would be out with my phone live showing it. And that's what needs to happen. I think more people need to be in the face of these election officials, especially in these states that are democratically run election officials, which, by the way, should not have any party influence, but we know they do.
Yes.
I mean, how easy is it just to sit there and say, like this man claimed on the Veritas video that he was instructed by his supervisor to stamp a bunch of ballots that arrived for the 3rd, and they arrived a day later. They arrived on the 4th. Would it not be convenient, if you're losing by 100,000 votes, to say, I need 120,000 votes to make this happen?
I said this.
And miraculously,
yes.
120,000 votes show up.
I said this. Trump caught him by surprise in 2016 in the Rust Belt and a few areas. And I said, watch it. And you can go back and look at the archives on the tapes. I said, watch it. You're going to see miraculous vote turns in key areas that we're doing it, and I think my prediction is coming true. Thanks for being on, Dwayne. We might have to try this tomorrow and see if we can get the Skype and video thing worked out, but we'll see on that. But thanks for being on today, and have a absolutely great evening up there in Idaho.
I will. You take care.
You got it. There's Dwayne from Idaho. We'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET 1490 here in a second. See if Jesse can remember how to hook it up to his other place. I'm just giving you a hard time of that. Tell me, did they look on that? How was the sound quality? Because I'm trying the lapel mic on that. Good. So yeah, is there, just comment on the. They're trying new technical things on the sound system. So throw some comments in there. Do I sound okay, or do you need any adjusting on it, or what you think of that, so we can know how to do this on that. So we're gonna look slightly more, maybe more professional here in the coming weeks. Yeah, right. You're probably right. Professional is not my middle name, but as you can tell, I'm not part of the mostly three-piece suit crowd and looking like the anchor man that comes on announcing the 6 o'clock news, and the headlines are
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
We're a pretty free-flowing bunch around here, but I bet you we have a hell of a lot more fun than they do of that, because we're not all uptight. I've always said that if you put a tie on, I always said they were invented by women, but it chokes the oxygen off to your brains, and then they can.
All right, guys, here we go. 10 seconds.
1490am.com and download your free phone app today. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed.
Slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday on the Mighty Met 1490 KMET, broadcasting all over the airwaves in the Inland Empire. Joining our live video audience, it starts live at 5 on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube on that. And as you see, Stephanie's not in today. She had some things to do, taking care of biz. So you just got me running my jaw. You got Jesse over here pushing the buttons, making everything roll on this stuff, and so forth. We covered, Dwayne from Idaho was in our first half hour, and we covered a lot of the things that are going on, some of the cases that have been going on, the election fraud that appears to be going on, and we've said it on this show, they're going to be rolling out the votes. And how does upwards of 9-1 in Philadelphia is going to Joe Biden, and in record numbers. This whole mail-in ballot, the whole thing was set up because they knew the only way they could, I think, their best chance of doing it, they knew they pretty much couldn't win an honest election, so they had to cook up the COVID thing came on. They seized on that. I think, as I've said, Trump caught them by surprise in 2016, especially in the Rust Belt and in key areas in Florida, and they were loaded for bear this time and running it. But to give us an update as somebody who is on the ground in Arizona, which seems to be a completely much in question, even though a lot of, some are calling the state, some are not. Is it going to go Trump? Is it going to do that? And that's going to be a big key to see who decides the President of the United States, which she's been on many times. She's on Twitter at Says Missy, on politicalvanguard.com, all across the media airways, but more importantly, she's on IE Newswire. Today with Roy, Melissa and Murray, welcome to the show.
Hey, Roy, it's good to be on. Thank you for inviting me.
Looks like in Arizona, let's get to that since that's where you're at ground zero on there. It looks like it's down to 55,000 vote lead for Joe Biden, and it's the only state that's out there that people are looking at where Trump is actually picking up votes. In Nevada, or I mean in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Nevada, he's actually Biden, he's either losing the lead, or in Nevada he expanded it today. But the count's coming in Arizona, and Trump insisted today at the press conference he's going to win Arizona, and the counts, he's been closing the gap as the count comes in. What's your take on it?
Well, I think he's won the state, and I'm going to say that for sure he's won the state. I'm gonna now you know I'll bet you, Roy. Anyway, I believe he'll win the state. I do believe he will win the state. We had some problems. I don't know if you heard about the felt tip marker.
We played the video of one of the people that was actually there and went through this and was like exasperated at what went on. But go ahead.
Okay, so it's clearly on your ballot that you're not supposed to use it. But if you go election day, you think I wouldn't have thought, well, they're going to give me something wrong on election day. Maybe they read the ballots differently. So we don't know how many ballots were affected by that. Now, Miss Katie, the Secretary of State, and I call her Katie because after the last couple of days listening to her, I just like nauseated. She says, she says, listen, she has the audacity to say, well, well, it's okay to use felt tip, use Sharpies, and it's on the ballot to say not to. Okay, they know that 70 to 80% of people voting on election day in the state of Arizona are breaking for Trump. And why do they have them? Not just one polling place, all over, okay? I've never heard of that. It's nuts, other than the fact that it appears that they're wanting to suppress those votes. Now, she said, oh, it doesn't make any difference. We're going to count those. And then she went into some diatribe about this. And then she did say, well, if the machine doesn't pick it up, then it's up to the discretion of the person looking at it. And that's when I go, exactly. And who is monitoring that? I don't even know. I mean, are you crazy? And we want all those votes that you put aside, that you're deciding how the Sharpie looks. I mean, there's lawsuits in the state. Going right now, but citizens are suing. It's a major debacle, and so it matters who you vote for Secretary of State. And by the way, she's a Democrat.
And I want to explore that a little bit because, and I don't know, I haven't checked the Congress, but I mean, as of before this election, 5 of the 9 seats, a majority of the congressional seats were Democrat in Arizona.
Yeah.
It looks like, I mean, I think McSally's, unless you think so, I think McSally's out. I think you're going to have 2 Democratic senators. The election is going to be razor sharp, that I'm calling Arizona right now a blue state.
No. What we have going on is Republicans got caught with unprepared. And I say that because, McSally should have known how they were going to come after her because she lost the last election. And you know how she lost the last election? She said, keep counting the votes that came in past election day. Keep counting the votes. Are you kidding me? They gave her the discretion on that. She would be a sitting senator right now for 4 more years had she been like Trump. Because most Republicans are like that. Oh, yes, they were screaming, let the votes be counted. Well, they're illegitimate when they come in after the date. I mean, here they stay on the ballot, on your mail-in ballot. Send in 2 weeks ahead of time, whatever that date is. This year, it was the 23rd, okay? so that those votes can be counted. Now, this year they offer drop boxes for you everywhere, and so they're still collecting ballots in Maricopa County. I can only assume they did that last election. When you start having these big cities run by Democrats manage the elections, we have problems. If you drive through the state, all you see is Trump signs. You see banners with Trump. I'm going to say you have problems with the Democrats. And the other thing is that they knew how to come after McSally. McSally should have been prepared for it. They're gonna say the same mantra they said in the last election, and they're going to come at it with tons of money. She was not prepared for either. She went to school with my husband, and so it's a sore point in our house. He says, I could have ran. What's her fighting? You went to the Air Force Academy to learn to fight. You're a fighter pilot, and you just don't see her being prepared. She's like, oh my God. I mean, you've been through this once. Now you've got it through again, and you screwed us over. She was a bad candidate then. She was a horrible candidate this time. She's lucky she got what she got, and she only got that because Trump was here. I mean, so the problem that we're having in Arizona, this election, which is unique, is the COVID. And so you have a large senior citizen community here because it's a big place for people to retire. And they've got those people running scared. I'm going to say they are, I don't say all of them, but disproportionately, I think, because of COVID, went for Biden under the COVID.
No, you bring up a good point on this, because nationally, even across the board, older people went from the voted for Trump, or the voted for Trump are now voting for Biden in mass. Younger people are actually that voted for Hillary or that are going for Trump. Blacks, especially black males and Hispanics, same thing, opposite. But the older crowd is going the opposite way, which is but it fits with 2020, because everything in 2020 is just working 180 degrees opposite of what it should be doing. And that's why you're seeing this shift across the board. And
so don't make us blue when we've got
let's go. Quick, I just want to go through the stats. Romney in 2012 won Arizona by 9%. 2016, Trump won it by 3.5%. Now it's going to be like almost 0%. And again, your congressional delegation is now majority Democrat. You're probably going to have 2 Democratic senators. And as I said, don't let the cancer of California affect you. Let it spread, and it's spreading in Arizona, Texas, and Georgia, because that is the biggest places where Californians have migrated, and especially Texas. Actually, there's more people from New York migrating to Texas now than are migrating from California to Texas. And watch, it's went down to 6% from 14 to 8 to 6 in Texas. Texas is now purple.
Wait a minute, you know that this is a heavily Mormon state. You know that.
Yes.
So you can't use Romney as a guide, but I mean, you can't use that. I mean, that's but
yeah, milquetoast. If you're talking about the most milquetoast, Trump-hating Republican in there that got that amount of vote on there, and again, your congressional delegation and your senators are now all Democratic majority of that. And look at the vote count. I am saying that it's going that way. I've been saying it for years.
Wait a minute. The Republican Party needs to take it more seriously. They don't vest as much money as the Democrats. Money wins. And when you tell our elderly population, we're going to take away your Medicare, they're going to do this. It's the same thing they've been telling for 30 years. The evil Republicans are going to do all these things to you. They know the playbook. What they should be saying is the Democrat Party wants to legalize all these people that are here, they're going to bring their parents here, and they're going on the system that you vested into, and they're going to absorb your money. So, I don't know what would happen with Social Security under that scenario. If that happens, I don't know. Will they means test your Social Security if you're already getting? We should have been scaring them into the truth. The truth is that's what Biden is going to do if he gets his way.
I'm going to say this.
I do not understand for the life of me the Republican Party.
Well, you should, because isn't that that is almost, and it goes back to my theory, isn't that almost exactly the playbook that played out in California the last 30 years, and you've seen where we went?
And they still do not have an answer to help people. They let the Democrats fear vote them. Stop it.
Well, and you said it at the beginning.
Tell them the truth.
With McSally and your husband. McSally, Democrats are street fighters. And Republicans are playing by Marcus of Queensberry rules. And who's going to win in those fights?
You're not.
Yeah,
You're not gonna win.
These street fighters are going to win 98.7% of the time, and that's probably low.
Listen, the McSally was so close last time. That's why I knew it was going to take a while. And I don't know what's going on in this state that it takes this long. I have no idea, but it took this long with her. And they magically found a box of votes, and they were all for, and this happens every time. You don't let them take votes after the day of election. It always goes the Democrat way. I mean, how stupid. Oh, let's be nice. No, let's play by the rules, and let's start telling our elderly population what the Democrats are planning to do. And it's scary. It's scary what they'll end up doing to Medicare and Medicaid. I'm going to say this: they get so much benefits on medical benefits and all this. They'll start rationing like they do in these other countries when they have all these people come here and they legalize them, and their parents come. No one even. I never even heard that. No one has even explained that to anybody. I don't get why they don't do that, the Republicans.
I don't know if it started here, but I will tell you, I don't know why this playbook, you talk about counting votes after that. 2016 in Moreno Valley, California, where we're broadcasting from, in my hometown, they had a problem with a box of ballots were sitting in the post office in Moreno Valley after the election. And the judge ruled, oh yes, since they were in the post office but not postmarked or sent out or anything, they could be counted. And that was 4 years ago in the election. I'm telling you, I've seen from the seat I'm sitting in and seeing what I'm seeing. That's why I was able to say, watch, you're going to stack this thing. They've already got it set up. They were caught by surprise by Trump in 2016. But as I say, the street fighting Democrats, and they don't care. If it accomplishes their goal, they will do whatever it takes to win. If they got to do it legally, illegally, or by any means possible.
I agree with you. And now you've got a fighter, and he is going to fight for voter integrity. And I started thinking about this, how all the cheating has gone on, and it's all being exposed right now. And we've known it. We've known it forever. We've talked about it, but the Republicans never do anything about it. And that's on them. And I think in your state, it's not as blue as it's coming out right now. How many people are voting that shouldn't be voting in that state? Does anybody ever go through the registrar of voters and figure that out?
Oh, we do all the time, and everybody, most of them, and especially the Republican Party, which is now third-party status in California, behind no party preference in the Democrats, is, oh, well, we don't want anybody to yell at us or call us racist or something, so we're going to hide in the corner.
And you will be, and you become irrelevant. And I'm going to say this too. The Republican Party needs to have a sit down with California. How are we ever going to get the majority in the Congress unless we take back some of those seats of yours and in this state also, both? I mean, and they got to figure out ways to do that. And they just, I mean, you guys have enough congressional seats still that it's bigger than most states. They need to take those seriously. They can't lose one more, and they can gain back in some of those districts. I believe if they take it seriously, it's just like, oh well, that's California. And
razor thin. I want to get to that point.
One party rule, you get corruption.
Yes, and in Orange County, they're razor thin. Michelle Steele and I can't remember the other guy's name, but barely, like 50.2 to 49.9. But the Republicans are leading in taking back 2 of the 7 they lost in 2018 in Orange County. But that's how much of an uphill climb it is. And Mike Smith, who won the special election up there in the North LA area, has got a very short lead, about 50.2, again, to Ford over Christy Smith, who he defeated in the special election. So again, it's like this, and unlike, Joe Biden won by more percent. I think Hillary won California by 63, and he's up almost 66% in the presidential election this year. So some of the prospects of California, and again, I have said this, they should dissolve the California GOP.
A lot of Republicans have left the state. I know a lot of Republicans that have left California, a lot. And so that's the biggest problem. You got Republicans leaving, and those voter registrations need to be cleaned up. And we need voter integrity throughout the whole United States.
Yes, and I don't know how much it's been in Arizona, but I've been repeating reports all across the country. People getting 2 and 3, and one place got 18 ballots. People got ballots from people that hadn't lived in a house in 20 years, and the whole thing. And I've said this. You can call me sexist or whatever you want, but women at least usually change their name on average at least twice. And this is the whole thing. And look at the gap. Suburban women have been breaking from Trump back to Biden. It's the so-called minorities that have brought that back to complete. But I think the Democrats figured this out, and they said, who's getting all these extra ballots that are going in? And whatever it is, if it's 1%, 10%, or 40% chance that somebody's going to do 2 ballots, it's mainly the ones that are gravitating their way. They had this. This is a scientific way of figuring out how to game the election.
You think that's why suburban moms
I think that's what. No, I think that's why the big push. They said we put these mail-in ballots and we send them to everybody who's got a name on there. That most women under their married name, maiden name. I don't know how. Practically everyone I know, every female in the state of California has gotten 2 ballots.
Wow, shocking! That is something else.
Well, tell me I'm wrong.
That is not good.
And because they saw the shift of suburban women moving from that voted for Trump were moving to Biden. And as Tom Del Beccaro from Political Vanguard said, the divided area is growing greater, and it's no greater growing between men and women on this thing. In a short story, in the 50s and early 60s, women actually voted more conservative than men. And that since the mid-60s, that gap has been widening and ever widening. Women have been going way more liberal to the left, and men have been staying in the conservative when they used to be more homogenistic. Democrats have figured that out. That's why they push this whole thing like that. And I'm saying that's why this whole mail-in ballot thing comes up. Because like I say, doesn't matter if it's 1%. 1% can affect a tight election big time. And if they just got 1% of the people that they sent dual ballots out, and most of them were working their ways, they can flip states like Wisconsin and Michigan. And plus with the voter fraud, it's all a strategy.
I never thought of that angle. That's interesting.
That's why it
think
pays
that-
to listen to IE and Newswire.
Okay, so back to the women vote.
Yes.
I think that they know that we're more emotional. Let's say that as people. I mean, we just are. We're by nature.
That's not a news flash, by the way.
Just to be more compassionate. I don't know how to politically correct say this, and so we're more like that. And so when they appeal to women's emotions and they decide that, okay, this is the way we're going to go about it, they win them. And that's what's been going on. I think that they've been appealing to the emotional side, and they've been keeping it on race and gender and different things like that. And so that's an emotional, piece of the puzzle that, people vote on. And so they haven't focused on what they're actually their actual policies. I have yet to talk to a Democrat that knows as much as I do about Biden's policies. I'm like, it's just this touchy-feely kind of thing. I'm sure they're out there. I just have not met any Biden voter that knows as much as I do. And it's shocking. It's shocking. You're casting a ballot for, do you know how it's going to impact you? Do you know that you're going to lose your $1,000 per child tax credit? They don't even know these things. I mean, they just don't know. And so, it could be willful ignorance, or it's just they work them up into this emotion. And then you got CNN and MSNBC working up the emotion. And honestly, some of Fox too. It's like, oh, COVID's going up, but they don't say COVID's going, mortality rate's down 85%. They don't say that. Or that children, I don't know, they get it, the next day it's gone. It's like unbelievable. I'm not saying for everybody. There's people with underlying conditions, like my son had, that I would be scared. We got to keep them away. But I never would say that everybody has to homeschool because I got to homeschool, because that's what I did. I'm not going to say that's just ridiculous. And so I've actually been the mom that had to homeschool so that my son could be protected from illnesses that would come through the school. And so I've done that. But I never would say everybody else needs to stay home. It's crazy. And so a lot of them have bought into that emotion of the COVID. It's COVID, the marches. The marches are blamed on, Trump versus the underlying, what is going on in the marches. Does anybody even know?
Time flies when we're having fun. We're almost out of time. But
Okay.
I definitely, when the dust settles, I want to expand on this conversation because I think it really needs to be put on. But thanks a lot for being on. We'll do it again real soon.
Good.
You got it.
Thank you, Roy. Bye.
There you go. That was a fun deal on that, and we'll see what comes on of the whole thing. But yeah, I think that conversation really needs to be explored forward. That last part we were talking about, because I think it really it's going to be telling which direction this country goes, and has been going, and if we're going to continue to further down that path. We'll be back tomorrow on a fast and fun and furious Friday that goes on that. So till tomorrow, live at 5. See ya.